Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex here. Welcome back to another video, and this one sort of continues on from a video I made a couple of weeks ago about alternating tracks on a specific calendar. Now, that topic, that whole sort of comment section was really interesting. It definitely got me thinking about what tracks could alternate with what. Maybe not a mandatory rule, as you guys have been saying. Maybe it shouldn't be a mandatory rule, but maybe the FIA should, maybe they should promote it. Maybe they should push the idea of switching between different tracks in a specific country. So it got me thinking about what tracks could be used, and I found some more that I didn't mention in that video, and I want to expand on those in this one here today. So these are 5 tracks I think Formula 1 could go to if it really wanted to, but let's be honest, probably won't, unfortunately. But no reason not to talk about it, at least. So the first one on this list is the MidOhio sports car course. Now, this is currently used for the Honda IndyCar series. It's the Honda 200 race, and that's been racing since 2007. Also used for the NASCAR Xfinity series since 2013, and does a mixture of GT and sports car races. And it's been a very successful track and a very important track in the United States for a very long time. It opened in 1962, and I think, okay, it wouldn't provide incredible racing because, being honest, it's not the widest track in the world. It's quite a tight little twisty track, but Formula 1 seems to be going down the route of tracks that are hard to overtake at, so why not bring back a classic track that has provided interesting motorsport racing for a very long time. I know it might not be 100% suited to Formula 1, but at the same time, a lot of the tracks that are on the current calendar aren't 100% suited to Formula 1, so in my opinion, I just want to see Formula 1 mixed up a little bit, because we've seen the same 12, 13 tracks go on Formula 1 calendars for the last 20, 30 years. And whilst I like a lot of those, I think what we were talking about in that last video, or one of those last videos, about alternating tracks, it would just give other people opportunities to watch Grand Prix. Because, for example, I think I said this already, if you're based in the south of England, getting to Silverstone, okay, it's or the south or north of England, or even Scotland, the middle of the country where Silverstone is, it's a bit of hassle to get to, especially on a Grand Prix weekend where it's very busy. So I think something like this would be fantastic in MidOhio. An interesting little course, and I think it could easily alternate with some other tracks in the United States, including another one which I've got in this video, which is going to be the Laguna Seca. Now, this is a much more historic track. I mean, I don't think it has held a Formula 1 race. It's held some unofficial laps, but it's done a lot of IndyCar and things like that over the years. It's done A1GP as well, MotoGP, a lot of bikes, but it's never really held the biggest events in the calendar. It's held some of the Rolex Sports Car Series and Trans Am, but nonetheless, it's a track that is, I guess, just woven into United States motorsport history. It's one of the most iconic tracks. The corkscrew is probably one of the most iconic corners in the world of motorsport, and I personally love driving this track. Once again, a little bit like MidOhio, it's probably not the best in terms of, it's a big wide open track to overtake at, but as I've been saying already, if Formula 1 is currently using a lot of tracks that are hard to overtake at, why not make it a bit more of a challenging track like Laguna Seca? Because Laguna Seca is a little bit more challenging than some of these Tilcadromes, which have 5 million miles of runoff area every single track. I think it'd be more interesting to go to somewhere like Laguna Seca, where there is little runoff area and mistakes are punished. But it should also be said, all of these tracks are listed in this video are all FIA Grade 2 standard, so they're not eligible for Formula 1 right now, but with small tweaks they could be eligible. That's just trying to get it, working in my head. That's what it means. So Grade 2 means it's just below Formula 1 level. And it can hold, these tracks can hold big events, but Formula 1 couldn't go there as the tracks are right now, so they would all need small modifications to make them eligible for Formula 1. But as I said already, I feel like we're going to so many tracks in modern day Formula 1 that aren't very interesting to watch at, so why don't we go to one that just punishes drivers for making mistakes, something like Laguna Seca or MidOhio. I think it would be really interesting. Yes, they don't allow Formula 1 cars to be fully explored, but then some tracks that we go to right now, like Monaco for example, it doesn't allow to fully explore a Formula 1 car. They're at half throttle for like 75% of the lap. Obviously kind of a joke because Monaco is different, but you get the picture. Not every Formula 1 track has to do everything you want, and I think I've learned that because I've spoken about it in previous videos about tracks what I want to remove, and sometimes I think about these again. I'm thinking, okay, that's maybe not just the good enough excuse to just say, oh, it doesn't provide good racing, because sometimes just seeing a car and a driver on their limit is interesting. For the Hungarian Grand Prix, for example, that's probably the biggest mistake I made on that, because that's quite a tight and twisty track, and it's actually really interesting to see drivers on their limit. It might not provide great racing, but at least it shows drivers on their limit trying to, you know, grasp every last tenth of a second. And if we get more tracks on the calendar like that, I don't think it's a bad thing, even though I might have said something different in the past. But of course, people's views change, and I think a lot of your comments helped me evaluate my decisions back then a little bit better. And I definitely don't think the Hungarian Grand Prix should be taken off the calendar anymore. That was probably the mistake I made in that video. Anyway, on to a new one in this list, and that is going to be the Toronto Street Track. So this one is most currently used in the IndyCar. I really, really like watching this track in the IndyCar. There's something about it. It's just, it provides incredible racing. Well, maybe not incredible. That's the thing. Once again, incredible racing in terms of seeing drivers on their limit, really just struggling. That's what I mean by great racing sometimes. And it doesn't provide incredible racing in wheel-to-wheel battles, but for a street track, to be fair to it, it does actually provide some little battles here and there. It's not tight and twisty the whole track. There are moments, there are areas of the track where drivers can overtake if they're ballsy enough, and I think that shows in the list of winners, really, that the best drivers win these races. I mean, we look since 2009, Franchitti, Power, Hunter-Reay, Dixon, Bourdais, Conway, Newgarden, and Dixon again, and Power again. So the best drivers, pretty much all of those are champions, I think, except from Conway, are champions in IndyCar. So I think it shows the best drivers win. So this is a good example of a track that really brings out the best in drivers. And as I said, not currently Formula 1 grade approved in terms of FIA Formula 1 tracks, but with a few small alterations it could be ready for Formula 1. And there is something about this track that just always does provide interesting racing, and I don't know really what it is. Maybe you can leave your opinions. Have you ever been to this track in real life? Is there something about this track that is particularly special? I'd really be interested to know. But the Toronto Street Track really does provide some really cool racing, and I love just seeing cars on their limit and just drivers really struggling. And I think that's been the same thing of all of the tracks currently on this list, is they just really punish drivers for making mistakes. And I think in one day Formula 1 we don't have enough tracks like that, and maybe that was my critique in that whole video that I made, is that a lot of the modern day Formula 1 tracks allow drivers to make a pretty horrendous mistake and then just get back on the track because there's so much runoff. A lot of these tracks don't enable you to do that. So let's do it, lads. Let's just see what we could do when a driver can't get away with these mistakes. What would happen? Alright, let's stop focusing on American tracks, because we've had 3 of those so far. We can't get carried away. So I'm going to go with Bruno for this next one here, because this is a track that's held quite a lot of large events over the last couple of years. MotoGP, A1GP, AutoGP, Formula 3 Euro Series, DTM, GT Championships, Superbike World Championships. It's held some of the largest championships outside Formula 1, and Formula 1 cars, those do actually race there in the Bosch GP Championship, and the fastest laps are 1:36 if you want to know. But I really think this track's a bit of a challenge. Now, there aren't corners that are really fast and flowing. There's a lot of just straights, then sort of 90-degree corners. There aren't really many fast flowing corners around this track, but I don't think every Formula 1 track needs to be like that. Of course, we've said this already, not every Formula 1 track needs to be the same, because otherwise that would be a bit boring. But there's something about this track, especially when I've been driving it on racing games, whether that be MotoGP or in a car on something like R-Factor. This just track's very challenging. The first corner especially, getting your braking point right and then just trusting the downforce through that first turn that turns into turn 2 and turn 3. That is a challenge. That's one of the trickiest corners I've found on a racing game. Maybe that's just because I'm not very good, but that's the corner I've always struggled at, really, is just that first complex of corners at Bruno in the Czech Republic. So I think this would be a really interesting track for Formula 1 to visit. Maybe not as an actual race, maybe as a non-championship race. And I really want to push this idea, because I think Formula 1 really needs to adapt to the idea of non-championship races. Maybe every team takes one driver, preferably their test drivers, to give them a bit of an opportunity, and does these maybe like a 5 or 6 round season. I just think that'd be fantastic. Maybe it could even be like a satellite operation. Maybe it could be like a GP2 team running a Formula 1 car in one of these other non-championship races. I think that'd be fantastic. I think it would allow other jobs. It would still bring in lots of money because it's Formula 1 and people want to see Formula 1, and I don't think many less people would attend a Formula 1 race if it was a non-championship race, because for me, I just want to see the cars out on track. I mean, at the end of the day, you're sitting in the same spot for the whole race. You're not going to be able to understand a full race from one spot. So I want to go to a race to just see cars racing. And there's something about this track which I think should be picked up upon. It's something that Formula 1 hasn't really delved into yet. We haven't really ever had a car. I think the quickest car that's gone around there's probably an A1 GP or an Auto GP car, but I think we can go there in a Formula 1 car. I think we can try it out. And people are racing the old Torossos in the Boss GP series. They're racing their cars around there, and they're not setting blisteringly fast lap times. So I think we could be easily down into the 120s and, you know, be on par with the majority of the rest of tracks on the calendar, around, you know, 120 to 130 lap time. So there's something about Bruno. I think we should just go to it and just give it a chance. Even if it is a non-championship race, it would just allow a race in a country that hasn't really had Formula 1 much, and that area of Europe doesn't have many Grand Prix, and you know, we want to, I guess, give the option or show that anyone can be, in a way, anyone can be a Formula 1 driver. You know what I mean? Anyone can become a race car driver, and we sort of still focus on certain areas of Europe, certain areas of Asia, and certain areas of America, but we need to broaden out a bit and try and go to slightly different places, in my opinion. But maybe you disagree with me on that one. But anyway, I should move on because I haven't really got much gameplay in this one. I'm rambling on a bit more than I thought I would do. But anyway, let's get on to the last one in this episode, which I think many of you probably are going to disagree on. Okay then, this is probably the craziest one that I've put in this one, and I'm going to say I think it would be really interesting to see what would Formula 1 do around the Circuit de la Sarthe. If you don't know what that is, that's the Le Mans track, the Le Mans 24 Hours track. It's a long track, 13.6 kilometres, 8.4 miles, 38 turns, and a lap record in an LMP1 car of a 317.475. And even the Bugatti circuit as well, that's a track that could be used, but I want to see it on the main track. I want to see Formula 1 on the Circuit de la Sarthe. It's such a famous track. To be honest, I don't think it's even really possible. I just really wanted to include it in this list because I just want it to happen so badly. It'd be so awesome to see Formula 1 cars race around this track. It's got the mixture of the insane top speed. That's probably the fastest Formula 1 cars would reach. I don't know, I could be wrong. It's probably the fastest Formula 1 cars could reach around that down that back straight. I suppose it depends whether they put the chicanes in or not. But it would show a different side to Formula 1. Seeing Formula 1 cars on their limit, it would really test their reliability down that long back straight. And say we did, I don't know, how many laps would you do? Probably only like 30 laps? I don't know how many laps they could do, to be honest, because, let's be honest, the engines might be rip by the end of it. But yeah, I think they should just at least try it, maybe. It'd be so funny just to see what a Formula 1 car does around here, and actually just see how close it is to an LMP1 car. I don't know whether it would be quicker than surely a 317, but how much? Because I think it probably would be slower in a straight line, wouldn't it, be a Formula 1 car? Because they'd put the downforce on for the second part of the track, which is a lot more twisty, and you know, I feel like that. I don't know. It'd be really interesting. Why don't we try it? But okay, it's probably the silliest one on this list, but at the same time, I just want Formula 1 to go to a couple of different tracks that it hasn't visited before, because it's definitely missing out on certain areas of the world. Okay, maybe not France, maybe not America, maybe I've used bad examples in this video, but in terms of something like Bruno, that's definitely visiting a country that hasn't really seen much high-level motorsport over the years. And I think we want to promote that. As I said, we want to try and get to more countries, and you know, we don't want to do that without the expense of just getting rid of all the classics. But at the same time, I think that's where something like a non-championship series would work, or something like alternating tracks would work. You know, maybe we can have, I think someone commented it in that video actually, like a European Grand Prix or 2 European Grand Prix a year, where that goes to different tracks around the world, or Europe obviously, and then an Asian Grand Prix, because we've got 21 Grand Prix right now. Maybe we cut that back to 18 and then have an American Grand Prix and then a European Grand Prix and like an Asian Grand Prix, something like that. Maybe you could expand on that a bit more, but something like that I think would be fantastic for Formula 1 to allow just more tracks to be in rotation and just adapt the calendar a little bit, because it does become a bit stale. I mean, maybe not the last couple of years, but I think from the sort of the 2000 era, pretty much all the same tracks from the calendar year after year after year. And yes, tracks have come and gone in the last 10 years, but we still have that consistent like 12 or 13 that we always did. So yeah, I just want to push the boundaries and try something different. I don't think Formula 1's scared to do that anymore now that Bernie Ecclestone isn't at the top. So let's see, maybe it'll be something that happens over the next couple of years. But as always, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Have a fantastic day. Do you think any of these would work as a Formula 1 track? Let me know in the comment section down below. I think a couple of them would. I'd love to see Formula 1 around Laguna Seca, but it probably won't happen because it's just such a crazy track. But there, maybe Bruno, I think they would both work quite well as a Formula 1 track. Circuit de la Sarthe, maybe less so, but I just think it'd be entertaining, maybe it's a non-championship race. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Please remember to drop a like on the video. Enjoyed. Check out the Kickstarter. That's in the description. We're closing in on our goals, so if you can help us out with even just £1, that'd be massively appreciated. And that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a fantastic day. It's been Alex, and I'm out here. Goodbye.